Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chats. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you are doing well for this Finance Fridays on Wealth Coffee Chats. I'm your host, Brad, one of the lending specialists here at Positive Money. And today we're going to be talking about a few interesting things. One specific, but a few little bit of intricacies about it. Before I get started, I just want to welcome the people that are here, people that are consistently here, like Jeff and Kevin. Thank you so much for being consistently here. Love that you guys show up. Especially you, Kevin, Mr. Florida. Appreciate it. So what are we going to talk about today? What is it that we're going to dive in? And one of the things I get asked, I'm not sure if you've ever had a question about it, but one of the things I get asked is, well, what are family guarantees? And maybe you've got some kids and they are reliant on the bank of mom and dad, which is probably becoming more of a theme here in Australia. And they need to figure out, well, how do they buy property? They got to hit up mom and dad. Well, this is how we might be able to do that. So we're going to be talking about family guarantees. And to help us talk about this, I've got a special guest. He is one of our lending specialists here that, again, as always, here at Positive Money, we keep our brokers well-rounded. But sometimes they want to dive into something that they're really interested about. And this individual, without further ado, is Scott Forrest, who I will introduce you guys here in just a second. Mr. Forrest, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Brad. Yourself?
Friday. Yay. So excited for the weekend. I've got some plans to go up to Ballarat, actually, this weekend to some kind of festival, some art festival.
That'll be nice and cold in Ballarat, mate.
When I heard that there's some artwork in Ballarat, I was like, I just think it was like a small country town, but apparently it's not. Like, it's pretty hip. Anyways, I digress. Scott, what are we talking about today? But before we do that, first, let's introduce you. Who are you? What do you do? What are you passionate about?
No problems. So, I'm a mortgage broker, obviously with Positive Money. Been with Pos Money coming up 2 years now. A bit of my history. Grew up in Victoria, so know Ballarat pretty well. When you're there, drop into Craig's Royal Hotel. Make sure you drop into Craig's Royal Hotel.
No, they got some good food and good drinks.
So I ran it for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So grew up in Victoria, moved up here to Coffs Harbour, northern New South Wales, probably about 10 years ago now, with the family, just basically looking for better weather. So that's why we moved out of Victoria. Married, 2 adult children, passions. Being from Victoria, got to follow the AFL, so my passion is Richmond Football Club there, so please don't hold that against me. And then on weekends, wife and I love going 4-wheel driving and camping. getting into the outdoors. And there's some great areas around here in Coffs Harbour and up in the Northern Rivers.
Oh, sounds interesting. Sounds fun. Sounds like a full plate. Sports, cool. Couldn't hold anything against you. Don't even know if I go for any team. Sorry, guys. Not my cup of tea.
I'll convince you to go for Richmond, mate.
Okay, sure. If you take me to a game and explain everything, I will be one of those annoying people. Like, what are they doing? So sorry. I hope I haven't offended anybody. But Scott, let's dive in, man. So we're talking about family guarantees today. And, well, what are they? Can you
All right. So simple terms for a family guarantee, using parents' property as additional security to purchase a property. Now, it can be owner-occupied or investment. So,
oh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
A lot of people think that it's got to be, an owner-occupied property. Not true. And I'll just explain. I worked with Westpac for 12 years. So the example that I'm going to use, because I know their product so well, I'm going to refer to the Westpac Family Guarantee. And I've checked their policy this morning just to make sure it hasn't changed. You can still use it to purchase an investment property. So I digress. So to purchase a property to avoid paying mortgage insurance and avoid having to come up with a massive 15, 20, 25% deposit. And that's, you were talking earlier about how kids get into the market these days. This is one of the best ways because it is so hard for them to save that initial deposit.
100%. And sometimes I feel really jealous because I am an immigrant. I mean, some people now ask me, like, where are you from? Like, you're not American, right? I'm like, clearly, yes, I am American, but I don't get the bank of mom and dad. Mom and dad did their best, but don't think they could have actually helped me, especially here in Australia where property prices, they're so expensive. But from a wealth creation perspective, if you can get into the market, it's an awesome opportunity, amazing opportunity. If you got mom and dad to help you out, that's perfect. That's actually that's perfect. Yeah, because you're right. You got to save between 2, 5, maybe even 20% if you want to avoid LMI. So Scott, walk us through it. What?
Okay. If you could just bring up that calculator there, Brad, and I'll just give a pretty basic example. And one thing I will say here is every situation is different. So it's impossible in 15 minutes to sort of cover off all the different scenarios. But this is a pretty simple, straightforward example of a guarantee. So in this situation...
give me a second. It just kicked off. Honestly, every time I try to do this, I always mess it up, muck it up. So give me a second. Sorry, Scott. I know you're on a flow.
Nah, all good, mate.
Here we go.
Okay. So in this example, we're just going to assume that the property that the kids are purchasing is worth $500,000. Now, with a guarantee, it can include, if required, stamp duty, conveyancing, the additional costs of purchasing a property. They cannot roll in any unsecured debts or credit cards or anything like that. So it's purely, the loan amount can only be property related. So in this case, we're looking for a $510,000 loan. A lot of kids that are buying or using family guarantees are eligible for stamp duty exemptions, so may not even need 510, but for this example, we'll go with 510. So using the $500,000 property that they're purchasing, 80% of that is $400,000. So we've got $110,000 security shortfall. So now we go to mum and dad's property. Their property is worth $750,000. They have an existing loan of $400,000. So the 80% of the 750 is 600. So that means they've got 200 remaining equity. Down the bottom there, you'll see the limited guarantee, 137.5. Now you're probably sitting there going, well, that doesn't add up to 510,000. The banks will put a buffer in there on their guarantee. So Westpac's buffer is 25%. So you need 110,000. They put a 25% buffer on top of that 110,000 just to make sure that they're covered. So what happens in this situation is Westpac will take a mortgage over the property that's being purchased, and they will, take a mortgage over the parents' property, or in this case, they've already got the mortgage over the property, but they are putting a limited guarantee of 137,500. Now, that word limited guarantee is really important, and not all of the banks do limited guarantees. Some of them will just take a blanket guarantee. In this situation, if there is a default, the most the parents are up for with Westpac is that 137,500. So, yeah, if the kids default on the loan and there's a shortfall once the property's sold of, say, 45,000, the parents can tip in that 45,000 and then their property's safe again. Worst case scenario, Westpac could sell the parents' property, but they would be limited to taking that 137,500.
Right. Okay. So there are some risks, but probably not as much as you would think. But which makes sense, right? I mean, you are guaranteeing something, right? Making sure that it does work, because the bank wants to make sure that the risk is mitigated. So there is a little bit of risk. But I would say in today's market, that risk, especially with property prices growing, it's a little bit more limited, right? It's more limited. What would you think about that, Scott? Do you think it's limited?
Yeah, in all my time, I've never seen a guarantee called in that I'm aware of, and normally I would get notified. So, and when I'm doing a family guarantee, I make sure I've got everybody that's involved in the room together, and I'm very, very firm with the kids saying, if you get into trouble financially, let mum and dad know straight away. Don't stick your head in the sand, speak up and get onto it early. Avoid, going down that path of having to sell properties.
So, that's good. That's good that you've never seen it. For me, when I used to work in collections back in the day, yes, I was that guy. Pay your payments. I hadn't had to ever, even during the GFC. So that's when I worked in collections primarily. I didn't have to actually foreclose, is what we called it in America, on a family guarantee. Because to be honest, there's a lot of buffers put in place so that there isn't too much of a risk. There always will be, because every situation is unique. But from what I'm hearing, you haven't experienced it either. So that's pretty good. I mean, if your kids come a knocking asking for some help, it might be an option to explore. And what I find is not every broker does this. And I just want to get your thoughts. What do you think? Why brokers aren't tapping into this opportunity? Because here in Australia, it's hard to get in a house. And I mean, I'm single. I'm not single, but I've got a partner, but we ain't got no kids, so we don't have to really worry about our kids trying to steal anything. But why do brokers kind of shy away from it? What do you think?
And I remember when I first did my first family guarantee, it was like, oh, where do you start? This is nerve-wracking. And I think that's what it is just the fear of the unknown. Once you've actually done a couple of them, they are pretty straightforward. So I just think it's the fear of the unknown. They're not overly common, so you're not doing, one every month or anything like that. But yeah, as I said, once you get into it, they are pretty straightforward, as long as you know what you're looking for, and just explain the process. As I said, really important to explain the full process to all involved. And one thing I'll just point out here, part of the process is once the loan is approved and the documents issued, the parents will need to go to a solicitor and get what the banks call independent legal advice. Now, that'll be a document that needs to be signed off by a solicitor to confirm that the parents understand what they're committing to and the risks that are involved. And just a word of warning there, a lot of solicitors will try and talk the parents out of it. But by this point, the kids have already committed to buying that property. So it's a little bit late. So one thing I will say there is if you do have concerns, probably go and speak to a solicitor, family solicitor first, let them know what you're doing, and let them know that once the loan's approved, I'll be coming back to get you to sign off on it.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I find that it's becoming more and more common with the banks making sure that anybody that's getting involved in a loan, that they're fully aware of any type of legal repercussions that they might have. So getting that advice per se is actually helping them get a little bit more of a full scope. So it does make sense, and I understand that. Scott, you've been really informative. We haven't had too many questions in the chat today, but you know what? Who knows? There might be some more coming down after we post this in Facebook and all of our other channels. But any final words of wisdom, sir, before you go?
Criteria. So I mentioned before that the funds required for the loan need to be associated with the loan, so you can't be paying out any unsecured debts or anything.
Okay.
Limited to immediate family members with most lenders. So mum and dad, and it can actually go reverse.
Okay. The bank of son and daughter. That's perfect. That's got to be a new thing.
The kids can guarantee for mum and dad. And it can include step parents, step kids, brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. So it's got to be that immediate family. Obviously, parents have got to have equity in the property.
Yep.
The other thing that Westpac will accept is a term deposit. So if parents have actually got cash but don't want to give the cash over to the kids, they can lodge a term deposit, and that can be used as security.
Right.
Property.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, Scott. I from a mortgage brokering standpoint, anytime I've ever done family guarantees, it's always been off of a property.
Yeah, and that's what most people do use. Now, with Westpac, the $510,000 loan that I was referring to before,
yeah,
it can be all under one loan. With other banks, they will insist on two loans, one being the $400,000, which is the 80% of the main security,
yeah,
and then the guarantee figure as a separate loan. Doesn't make any difference. It just means two loan repayments instead of one. Doesn't cost any more to have two separate loans. There's a misperception that having two loans is more expensive. Wrong. As long as they're on the same interest rate, it's exactly the same.
Right.
So they're the main things. Problems. If the kids are buying at auction, never really know what that property's worth until the valuation's done, but they're committed. So if they are going to auction, make sure you have a buffer in the parent's equity position.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That does.
And that, pretty much covers it in a nutshell, mate.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And you know what? I know every situation might be unique. So folks, what we do here is we give you the opportunity to ask questions. So if you haven't been able to do that, maybe you're going to be watching this at a later time. You'll see at the bottom of our screen a little bit of a scrolling email address. If you've got questions, reach out to us, finance@positivemoney.com.au. Scott, Mr. Forrest, you are a gem. I appreciate all your wisdom and your support with this. Like I said, we've got a lot of brokers with Positive Money, and they're pretty well-rounded, but there's some ones that are a little bit more focused in different areas, which is good. It means that when there's big updates going on, because we've got like over 60 lenders, trying to keep up with all their policy changes is a bit challenging. But if you've got a lending specialist that focuses in another area, that's great. It means that when there are changes, you're getting the best product. So Scott, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right. See you later, man.
Okay. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. All right, guys. As always, if you've enjoyed what we discussed, tell your friends, tell your family. Maybe don't tell your kids because they're going to ask you for a family guarantee, or maybe you should. Help them out. It's not easy. I mean, as a kid trying to get into the property market myself at one stage, it is a journey. It is tough. So maybe you can help them out. Maybe that's something that you guys can do. But let them know. Subscribe, share a podcast. And if you have any questions, like I said, at the bottom, there's that scrolling email address, finance@positivemoney.com.au. Or maybe you just want to meet with me, have a chat about your unique situation. Maybe it's not about family guarantees. Maybe it's about something else. Well, folks, we can do that. We can talk to you about it. And let's just have a chat. Well, that's it. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Friday and a good weekend. And if you're going to Ballarat, let me know. We'll catch up. All right, guys. Take care.
Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6 Star team here at positivementor.com.au.